All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful Thursday. On behalf of the Edge Technology Conference and Trellance, we would like to welcome you all to our second session of the 2024 Edge Encores webinar series. We are beyond excited to begin this series of webinars starting this past Tuesday, and this series brings the four most popular 2024 Edge Technology Conference breakout sessions to the digital space. If you missed Edge this year, or even if you just want to rewatch your favorite session, this is your opportunity to be a part of the conversation. So with that, let's get started on our second of the four webinars titled Accelerating Financial Wellbeing with the Member Financial Health Metric. During the session, our host will explore strategies for taking an even more proactive role in solidifying members' financial health, starting with understanding a groundbreaking new metric, the Member Financial Health Metric. Today, we are excited to have with us Jen D'Amico, the Chief Marketing Officer at CommonWealth Central Credit Union, and Greg Leslie, Client Engagement Manager at Trellance. But before we jump in, I'd like to go through a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to all after the session concludes. Second, due to the large audience, the phone lines have been muted. And lastly, we want to hear from you. There will be a Q&A at the end of the webinar. If you think of any questions during the duration of this webinar, please feel free to type them in the Q&A box and we will do our best to answer. If you have a question that does not get answered by the end of the webinar, please send our team an email at info@trellance.com and we will get back to you in a timely manner. You can also answer yes to the poll that is on the screen right now, and one of our Trellance experts will get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you all again for being here for this webinar, and without further delay, here's Jen and Greg.
Thank you very much, Cassie. So welcome everyone, and to get started with introductions, Jen, the floor is yours.
Great, thanks, Greg. Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. I'm Jen D'Amico, Chief Marketing Officer at CommonWealth Central Credit Union. We're based in San Jose, California. Personally, I've been living and breathing in credit unions for more than 20 years now, so I'm pretty passionate about our movement and just the credit union world. I'm really thrilled to be here to do this encore presentation. One of the things I loved about the EDGE conference was while it was a technology and data analytics conference, I loved how much of our purpose and values were infused into the conference and how much excitement there was around it. And this financial well-being topic is definitely one of those items that really, just really enhance our purpose as credit unions. In terms of our partnership with Trellance, we work really closely with Trellance as our data analytics partners so that we can learn even more about our members and really serve them better. So we're excited to run through this presentation, talk about it again. We hope to answer any questions you might have as we go. And with that, I will pass it back to Greg.
Thanks, Jen. And I'm Greg Leslie. As Cassie said, I'm one of the client engagement managers here at Trellance. I've been here for, about 2.5 years now, but not quite as long a tenure in credit unions as Jen has, but I'm still about 8 years. Prior to arriving at Trellance, I was the data scientist for a credit union in Minnesota. So I echo Jen's sentiments explicitly that we're very excited to be talking about this again. And when Jen first brought up the idea of the member financial health metric, the light bulb went on for me. So we're very excited to see it continue to develop. So to start, now let's use our imaginations a little bit, and this slide will make sense very, very soon. Now, imagine it's Sunday night, and it's almost bedtime. My daughter just springs up in a panic because she forgot to do her math homework. So at this point, she is almost to the point of inconsolable. And I get the story out of her that she needs to roll dice 250 times and record the results. And she was thinking she might have had about an hour or so of work ahead of her, and she's just extremely tired at this point, Sunday night. So anticipating that it was the histogram homework project, I got the story out of her and told her, okay, give me 3 minutes. I think we can do it. She was, of course, very, very skeptical. Uh, so she didn't quite believe me when I said, okay, honey, this is what I do for a living. And we had a good laugh about it afterwards. But it highlights that while traditional methods for measuring and human interaction will all do and will always continue to work, there are some advantages for using the right tools and strategy to do it faster, easier at a much larger scale. And taking the dice rolling motif a step further, while every role is going to be different and unique, there are many commonalities that we see along the way. And as we're defining financial health, we're finding some of those commonalities. Building a nest egg, saving for or spending within your means, not taking on excess debt, making loan payments on time. And as you can see here that or the poll that was just brought up, we're highlighting and asking for who is championing financial health in your organization. So with these commonalities, we want to best understand where our members are today, and which will allow us to better advise them for where they want to go tomorrow. Part of our approach is hyper personalization. That there was a recent article by Jerry Young promoted in Financial Brand that talked about the expectation of Gen Z and hyper personalized experiences. Kind of like the Amazon effect, that this is now the expectation in the marketplace, and we're trying to craft a framework that will be responsive to those expectations throughout the future. And along with that, our major driving mantra throughout the project has been more healthy members beget a healthier overall membership. So that is our approach. That if we can make everyone healthier at an individual level, that will inevitably bubble up to the whole organization. And now I will pass it over to Jen to talk about the poll will not get out of my way. There we go. To talk about setting the stage
Thanks,
at CommonWealth.
Greg. Do we know the results of that poll? I don't see them in I'm just curious before I talk a little bit about how we've approached it at CommonWealth. Just curious what the poll results look like. Here we go. Oh, this is awesome. Okay. Lots of people said everyone, so that's great. All right, so I think what I want to do here is just kind of give you some background and set the stage for how we at CommonWealth started thinking about this idea of financial wellness and how we wanted to approach it. We really started all the way at the beginning. Go back a couple years, we started all the way at the beginning as an organization. We went through a full strategic planning approach, reimagining our mission, vision, and values so that we could move into the future with a really clear direction and focus. So that involved all kinds of work for the entire organization, from the board all the way on down through our employees. We really spent a lot of time researching our membership base, understanding our target market for potential members. We are based in San Jose, California. This is a very high cost of living area. So what looks like high income nationwide is really truly middle market in our area. So we wanted to take a look at those member and non-member similarities and really understand them and understand our market. And we've spent a lot of time looking at all the data, and we understand our members better now than probably we ever have before. So it's really exciting. It's a really exciting time at CommonWealth. We're doing some really amazing things here, and we're excited to push this strategy forward. And so really what we started with is, how can we be innovative? How can we build this comprehensive plan focused on building financial health competency, with our membership and as we enter markets for growth, how can we be relevant and distinct to our members? And so really 2024 has served as our foundational year. We want to really build that foundation so that we can continue to push forward in future years. And as you can imagine, that takes a lot of moving parts and a lot of efforts to get that going. But what I really want to key in on is this is a holistic approach to financial wellness. I think, for quite some time, obviously credit unions care deeply about helping their members and providing financial education tools and resources. And, even for us, we've always had kind of those educational tools on our website and the seminars that we offer to members and so forth. But this is different. This is a holistic approach, meaning we want to look at every single thing we're doing at every turn and understand if the things we're doing are really supporting our key strategic goals. And if they're not, how do we change them? What do we need to be doing? And I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but that includes things like certifying our leaders in financial counseling. Even our CEO is certified. So this is really, we need to walk the walk, talk the talk, and walk the walk, and make sure that there's a clear understanding that this financial wellness effort is important across the organization. And so in addition to certifying our leaders and employees, we want to continue to offer new financial wellness benefits to members and to our team members, our employees internally. We are trying to establish a baseline for that financial health measurement, which we'll dive into some more in just a couple minutes. And we really, again, are looking to support financial wellness and our mission and vision at every single encounter. So this, again, means looking at all of our products and services, understanding how we're interacting with our members and the community. What do our marketing materials look like? How does the messaging read? How do we get this financial wellness feeling and information across in our digital channels? So really, I just want to set the stage here that this approach has been really holistic for us. And that's the reason why, as we get into the data pieces of this, it's so important for us to get those baseline measurements and then drive them forward. So if we go on to the next slide, we'll talk about one of the key things that we did earlier this year to understand where our members stand in their financial life, and how we're going to measure it is we partnered with Attune and the Financial Health Network. They are experts in this area. They've built surveys that take less than 2 minutes for a member to fill out and really key in on some of the most important pieces of someone's financial health picture. And so what we did earlier this year was we launched this survey to the membership in partnership with Attune, and it really allowed us to gather responses and determine that baseline for our membership and understand their financial health scores. And then what are the things that we can do to either help members improve those scores and or maintain a healthy financial health score. So what the goal really is here was to generate that baseline and then follow those members over time, take some actions to help them in their financial life, and then measure what those improvements look like. So really for us, that means there's a lot of action items that need to take place. We can't just measure their financial health and then see what happens. We really want to start offering tailored offerings based on their specific financial situation. So let's say they're in a tough spot related to their debt. What are the things we can talk to them about to help them kind of get out of that cycle? Can we offer them financial health counseling? Refer them to our partners at Balance, things like that. We also are looking at creating and launching new products and services that will resonate from a financial wellness perspective, but also to this target market. And so there's, the one of the key pieces here is that we have to utilize that member data and insights in order to capture this and reach the right audiences at the right time. And so again, we'll talk a little bit more about what do those new products and services look like and things like that. But we want to continuously learn more about our members so that we can serve them better and keep our mission in mind and just really drive this initiative forward. So with that, I'll hand it back to Greg to talk a little bit more about the definitions and goals.
Thanks, Jen. All right. So with our vision, we were, as Jen said, we were taking a holistic approach, and we settled on three main goals for this project. One was to enhance members' financial literacy. One was to improve members' financial management skills, and lastly, increase members' financial stability and resilience. We felt that those three are really the tent poles we needed to firmly establish to make this metric relevant, useful, and sustainable. So with the structure, we settled on a way that we wanted to have a total aggregate score that could be easily identifiable and recognizable by frontline staff or anyone who was working with it. And then having drill down capability within that to individual subscores that we could highlight certain categories if a member wanted additional help in one particular area or one or more particular areas. And from here, we went to establishing benchmarks that, with the help of the Attune surveys, we could use that as a way to establish baseline for the membership and make it responsive and customizable. So we're not trying to paint everyone with the same brush. We're trying to meet the members where they are and recognize what growth is from that time. To take a page from education, it's do we measure everyone to 70% passing rate, or do we highlight and prize growth over time? If someone starts at 60% and makes that jump up to 75, that is absolutely meaningful, and we want to reflect and prize that growth. And drifted into that a little bit here by, again, using the Attune survey as a benchmark. That we started with the information that Jen and her team collected. One of the drawbacks with the Attune, with really any survey, is frequently low response rates. So we wanted to find a way to fill in the gaps for that baseline, and we have used a data model lookalike process to ultimately do that, taking the results as they were responded for any member who did not respond, and see what the commonalities were and use that as the baseline. We could then take the subgroup of those members who are thriving as they are self-reporting, and also look at those who are most active within the credit union. We could then use that as the box and target group of who we want to craft the metric and scoring structure around. And so we're not falling into the trap of trying to build a box around, say, indirect members who are not very active and wouldn't contribute much to our learning process. Along with that, we also wanted to expand into other data areas, bringing in information from the core system, from loan origination system, online and digital banking platforms, and even leaving the door open for additional surveys. One of our goals for this process was to make the data collection process as low impact as possible, as passive as possible. So while we will still continue to use a Attune survey to have the voice of the member reflected and appreciated, that, hey, I'm doing great. We absolutely want that information. Outside of that, we know people are busy and don't have time to spend 5 minutes per month filling out a checkbox in a web form saying, I feel good about my debt load. I feel good about my savings habits. Now, a lot of that information is accessible in core and behavioral models from transaction history. So if we have that, we absolutely want to leverage, and again, make the data collection as passive as possible.
Yeah, and Greg, if I could just chime in on a couple of these benchmarking elements too. I mean, we understand that the survey, wasn't going to be filled out by all of our members. We pushed hard to get as many responses as possible, and we did get a great sample. So those lookalikes are really important for us in our journey with financial wellness, because of the fact that we want to bring this to a broader audience, but we also still want to personalize our approach and make sure we're reaching the right people with the right content and information, and we're having the right types of conversations with them. And then as it relates to kind of, our external audience, we also did some focus groups, both with existing members and with non-members, to understand their needs, wants, challenges, and we learned a lot from that. And while those are small data samples, they really helped us to start asking the right questions and kind of uncovering more data. And so I think that's an important piece of kind of how we've gone through this. We didn't just launch the survey and go. We've got some other really strong data points, benchmarking elements, things like that, to kind of help drive us forward. And for us as an organization, it helps us make some of those decisions as well. It kind of serves as that filter for us to make sure we're keeping our strategy in mind when we're making decisions for different things, like and we'll talk a little bit more about this, so I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like what types of products we want to launch, or how we want to optimize our existing products. And so I think that's an important piece as well. And then the other thing I just wanted to add is that, with the work we've been doing with Trellance over the past, few years or so, we have so much data on our members, and we've built other models that kind of are helping us serve as a starting point when we think about financial wellness. So, for example, we've built models that are related to member engagement. So then if we take that member engagement level and we start to overlay the financial wellness pieces of it, that's when we're really starting to get a picture of not only what is the member doing with us at CommonWealth, but how can we help them in their financial life, and where do they have challenges, or where do they have opportunities that are coming their way. So lots of exciting things to think about. I just wanted to make sure to chime in on some of those benchmark elements and how we're really building upon the foundation that we started a handful of years ago when we started a lot of this data analytics work.
Thanks, Jen. And that made a perfect segue to highlight that we're not throwing out everything that came before, that this metric is very much meant to be a build on. That, as Jen said, engagement score, we're also looking at risk assessment, product propensity, next best product, persona segmentation, attrition risk. All of these are coming together and contributing to the financial health metric that we want to build on top of everything that has worked before, and try to pull it all together in one cohesive package that will be, again, recognizable and meaningful for the members, but also for frontline staff as they're interacting with members. So, and to carry this forward, now that we have an idea of how the score will be structured, what does that mean, and what are the action items we can recommend after that? So we arrived on 5 different distinct areas that we want to frame, categorize, and really use as the measuring stick for how we can strive to make better personalized financial guidance. And as you can see on the slide here, the 5 we arrived at were debt management, budgeting and saving, retirement planning, emergency fund building, and preparing for major purchases. So with these 5 areas, we felt these are in no way an exhaustive list, but we felt these were the top 5 that we wanted to focus on.
And Greg, just to add to that too, with the Attune survey, one of the great things with the Financial Health Network is that they really categorize things into the save, borrow, spend plan, right? And then there's even more detailed focus areas under each of those. And so again, that helps us to determine what types of conversations to have with members. Do we need to help them understand how to pay their bills on time? Do we need to help them understand their credit scores? Those types of things. And really, I just want to go back to our beginning strategy when I was setting the stage. We're talking about how can we serve members? Our mission is to provide compassionate guidance to help our members enhance their financial well-being. So this is the thing that we have all over our walls on our computer screens here at CommonWealth, and we're living it, and we ask ourselves these questions every day. So even as we dive into this data, those are the types of questions we're asking, and then we're trying to build it and frame it into some of these categories that are already built as a framework from the Financial Health Network.
Thanks, Jen. And as we dive deeper into personalized financial guidance, it opens the conversation to collaborate with members on achieving their goals. And if we're through focus groups, through additional surveys, through Attune, we can further gather more behavioral information and along with mining transaction history, we can try to gather some of these insights to find areas that would be most meaningful for members for additional educational opportunities. And then there are options for performance tracking of many common milestones. We uncovered that a very frequent personal milestone is saving $10,000 as an emergency fund. Other common life goals are purchasing a new car. So with these commonalities, we can set these up as the first wave of educational opportunities. Looking to the future, some of the functionality that we want to bring in is allow for additional users or user and member submitted of custom goals. If they can put that into the web interface to say, you know what, my personal goal is not 10,000, but I want to adjust that to 50,000. We have a plan for building in that level of functionality as well. And by members sharing their goals, it gives us even greater insight into the community's needs for educational resources and workshops. As you can see here, some of the brainstormed ideas that we had some fun with were, how do I balance it? How do I balance my checking account to avoid overdrafts? Understanding interest rates when buying your first home. I won't go through the entire list. You can definitely see it here. But one of my favorites is always how to create a budget and actually stick to it. That is one that I would have loved probably a couple of decades ago. So with the educational opportunities, gathering that information also gives us a chance to right size and optimize products and services to meet the members' needs. And while Jen has teased it a couple of times already, now she gets to talk about it in full view. So Jen, back to you.
And then maybe a couple things that are not on the list, but I want to go back really quickly to what are members' financial goals. And one of the things that we're learning and thinking about too is it can be overwhelming to think about discussing with a member their entire financial picture and how do they create a budget, but maybe there are small things they can do or change in their habits to help them have, I'll call them quick wins, right? Like, oh my gosh, I realized if I don't spend my $5 on that coffee every single day, I'll have, this much money by the end of the month, those types of things to kind of help build on that. But going back to products and services, it's even more than education, right? We talked earlier about looking at what we're doing at every turn. So it's more than education. It's also, what do our products and services look like? Are they relevant? Do they resonate with members? And how do we need to optimize them? What changes do we need to make to our existing products? Where are there gaps where we maybe need new products? And so we're really excited because, we've talked about this being a foundational year, but we are hitting the ground running really fast on several things. And one of them was launching an emergency savings account. And This account is unique where it has a high yield, a tiered high yield structure, which is, you've seen other savings products such as this, but really what I like to say is the beauty of this product is not just in the structure of the product itself, it's in our approach. So our approach with members is to have the discussion with them, make sure they're setting up their automated transfers every single month. And, it's a fairly new product for us. We launched it in June. When members start to pull money from that emergency savings account, we're going to be able to celebrate that they had money saved versus using their credit card versus, a more shameful approach of like, oh my God, why don't you have enough money in your savings account anymore? Those types of things. So I like to say, for us, it's really in the approach of the product. We're also encouraging members to come back to us in 6 or 12 months and have a conversation, whether it's with a balanced financial counselor, which is one of our partners we work with, or just having a quick conversation with one of our branch team members. And when they do that, they'll get an extra $25 to put into their emergency savings account. So there's some pieces here where we're really building in, the intent. We're being really intentional about how we want people to utilize this product. And so we're excited. We are off to the races with this product, and we can't wait to have it in more members' hands. A couple other things that we've been looking at is, do we, and many credit unions already offer this, but, do we need to add FICO scores to online banking so that we can help educate our members on how to improve their credit rating, what it means, all the things that go into it, or maintain it, right? So financial health doesn't just have to be about people in tough situations. We want to continue to educate people on maintaining a good credit health as well. And then we're also exploring small dollar loans. So we've seen that a lot of people use credit cards when they have an emergency and they don't have the emergency fund set up. So we feel like the flip side of that emergency savings is having emergency loan as well. So we're working through the details of that now and hoping to be able to launch something still this year. One other thing that was a really deliberate step for us in financial wellness is that, we're using it again as that filter. So we've even looked at our fee structure, and one of the fees that we removed was our overdraft transfer fee. So, now members have the benefit of using that overdraft source without any fee tied to it. And that way money can come from their savings if they happen to get into a situation. And so just small things like that are examples. They're not small, they're actually really big. They seem small, but they're really big things and intentional things that we've been doing as an organization. And so we're really excited about all these different elements and just starting to see them come to life and see them come together.
And Jen, to build on one of your comments there, of the goal is to support not just those who are, say, in trouble and needing support. We want to support and give the tools to everyone. That every member, regardless of financial standpoint, we want to give them the right tools, the necessary tools, the necessary education to live their best financial lives. And that's why the scaffolding term is used here, that it's not offered once and it's totally done, that it's building over time, that every little bit allows us to build more and more of a stronger foundation and then a taller building on top of it for each member's best financial life.
Yep.
And with that, what about the future? Some things that we're watching and definitely want to be mindful of as we're going through this project is identifying what some of the emerging trends are. That I do fancy myself an amateur futurist, so there are some things that seem like they're on the horizon and may arrive in the next 5-10 years. Driverless cars are one example. And if a car can be ordered through a subscription service and used for a half hour and then sent on its way, what does that ultimately do to auto loan or to car ownership and auto loans? With that, does the support of the auto loan industry need to pivot from individual consumers to dealerships, because with a lot of cars, they are a very likely fleet manager for that ultimate transition. So different trends that could impact this metric in the future, we want to be mindful of and paying attention to how the industry may move. Along with that, we are also very much keeping an eye on technology advancements. As I'm sure some of you are very, very surprised, Trellance considers itself a technology company. So we very much like to, well, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the unofficial tagline. We like to geek out every once in a while. I know it's a super huge shock. But there are certain technology advancements that we are watching very closely. We're working them into some projects, setting up proof of concepts. Uh, we have more projects built around, say, generative AI. That this is some very interesting potential functionality that we would want to look at building in the future. But also through some of the focus group feedback that we found. Jen, did you want to share that one?
About, sorry,
Oh,
Greg, which part of the focus group feedback?
not a problem. That within the membership, there was actually some distrust in AI. That
Oh, absolutely.
not just
Yep.
not just in AI, but automation in general. That while we have been using machine learning and different automation techniques for years, there is a newfound pushback that some of the feedback we received was automation equals AI and AI equals mistrust. That if it's not responsible, ethical, and transparent, then I I'm worried I don't want to do that. Then this led to us very much more prioritizing transparency in the entire process. That if we get to a metric score, uh, we it influenced our ultimate goal to make it transparent. That if members wanted to go in and see why am I only getting a 5 for this portion as opposed to a 6 or 7, uh, we want that availability and transparency to be there.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Greg, it's interesting because, we learned so much from our members in those focus groups, and a little bit of it was this balance of members wanting control over what's happening with their money, which makes sense. It's a sensitive and personal topic, but also the convenience of being able to do certain things. So it's this balance of helping them understand that the technology that's there to make certain things automated, or even if it's not AI that is doing the automation, that it's this balance of, but you still have control of it. It's your money. We're just making it convenient for you to make that automated transfer, for example. And so a lot of it, again, is in our approach and in the way that we're being transparent, as you mentioned, in that compassion that we're giving to help guide people, not just in financial health topics, but in the tools and services that can help make their financial life better, easier, more convenient, those types of things.
And carrying transparency one step further, that goes into the next bullet for industry changes. With some of the Senate hearings that were happening last year, it was very clear that explainability is coming. That the requirement that every model must be explainable, not necessarily transparent, but at least explainable, is a new requirement, or will be a new requirement. AI told me to do it, will not suffice. That we want to make sure that everything we're putting together is intentionally designed and it will be explainable, ideally transparent, and ready for any regulation that comes along with that. And then even further down the road, the explainability and transparency discussion led to one of my preferred ways to bring members into the fold, and that is gamification. I very much enjoy this as a concept by putting the power into members' hands so they can interact with it. They can see what their score is, and then have an option to change it. That we could have different options of not only displaying it within the digital channel, the mobile app. We then have options here. Of course, this is just a mock-up. We don't have an actual mobile app display ready to share. But give additional options for recognition of achievement when they've hit a milestone, whether one of our standard milestones or one they created themselves. We also want to provide personalized recommendations for generating those additional points. Because what good is it seeing 92.4 if I don't know how to make it better, if I don't have options? Tell me what I need to do. Do I add rewards checking? Do I open a CD? Do I save an extra $500 per month for the next 6 months? And that's how I'm going to boost my score. And while I say gamification is near and dear to me, Jen, I will say my Duolingo streak is now up to 2006 days. So I
Impressive.
readily know that gamification works on me. So that I imagine there are others in the same mindset that if you make it fun, others will, or if you make it fun, your members will stick with it. That really is how we're trying to bring members into active participation in their own financial health. And then also on here, in some of our plan, the third item down of having opt-in challenges every so often. That if not only with a member's singular focus, open it up to community challenges and say, okay, for everyone in this group, who can save $1,000 over the next 3 months? Having some sort of group, not quite accountability, but competition for good financial choices. Kind of like the workout with a buddy program. That this is applying that same thought process to financial health. And then also the last link here is a quick and easy way to highlight upcoming events, whether it's webinars, in-person educational sessions, different journal articles, a quick, easy spot to have the list of available offerings that will also promote more financial education and health. And as we've talked about our goals, visions, strategies, and how we're building this financial framework into the future, we are, or this is still very much a work in progress. Some exciting news: the alpha model just went live this past Monday. So we are starting to get the preliminary results, and there is much more to come. We are at one of my favorite parts in a development cycle, and you're just turning on the light switch and saying, it works. And I did have to fight the urge to drop a picture of Dr. Frankenstein in here, especially the Gene Wilder version, but I digress. So by partnering with reliable data, good tools, effective strategy, relevant expertise, you can start to see the picture as it becomes clear. To bring it back to my daughter's homework process, this was the histogram that we produced. That we rolled the dice 250 times, and or we didn't. I actually wrote a program to do that, and while it didn't take me 3 minutes, it actually took 5 because Windows had to do an update. We did do that, and throughout the process, it's a basic random number generator that we could add together, and uh, plot them accordingly. That as we go through this, I'm teaching her along the way, and you just saw the anxiety drop, and it was very, very validating that by by having the knowledge of what the end result could be, let that steer you. And that very much is how we're approaching this, that we know where we want to go. We want to promote member financial health and really live the credit union mantra of people helping people, if I can say that, uh, live the credit union mantra of people helping people, and let that be our guiding factor.
Yep, you're spot on, Greg. And a lot of what we talked about, I would say we're pretty early on in our journey, even though we've been at this for months. So some of what Greg shared is definitely could be future application, but what we're excited about is just getting a better understanding of where we're at with our financial health measurement and continuing to layer onto that to help us drive that strategy forward. And I want to close with the importance with this is the beauty of it for me and for lots of people in our organization is just having a really strong focus and strategy as an organization is really it makes our lives a little bit easier. While there's a lot of work to be done, it just allows us to truly focus on the members' needs now and into the future. And as Greg said, continue striving to live that credit union mantra of people helping people. And for us at CommonWealth, continuing to live that mission and vision that we set out to do. So lots more work to do, but we're really excited about how far we've come already just in the last, year or two. So with that, I think we can open it up for questions.
Yeah, while we get some questions coming in, just a reminder, everyone, you can utilize that Q&A box here on Zoom. I have some ones I kind of have for you guys to kind of start us off. So I know that financial education is really important when it comes to all these changes and making sure that our members are really understanding why we care. So what types of financial education could credit unions offer their members?
Great question. I think, if you're thinking of it holistically, as we talked about before, it's sort of having that variety of ways to educate members, channels to do it in that meets the member where they are. And so I think that could look like a lot of different things. It could look like a self-serve education module on our website, or it could look like attending a webinar or coming to an in-person seminar, or it could look like having a really short conversation with one of our employees about, why the member might want to avoid overdraft fees or how they can do that next time instead of overdrafting their account, things like that. So there's sort of these little micro conversations, and we're talking a lot about those internally as like, how can we capture those and track those as well? But I think, again, it's really just about meeting the members where they are and having that comprehensive approach to how we can educate them and offer them the right tools that meet their needs.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. That was great timing because we had a few come in while you were answering that. So somebody's asking, they say, I'm sure your data was not necessarily in a place where this could just be plugged in. How did you address that? How long did any retrofit coding take to get you up and running?
Well, as I said, this is still a work in progress. The data configuration has been a very long process. That since this was a bespoke project, this was totally from scratch, building on other things, but not in a cohesive format. So we have had to build from scratch. Mm, building or collecting data from a tune, creating a really a laundry list of different variables to capture from a core system, from a loan origination system, pretty much anything that we thought was appropriate, and then build a new master data table from there. So all in all, I think that process took about 5 months. So blazing a new trail, it definitely takes longer than it would for the future, but that did take some time, yes.
Thanks, Greg. We have another one here. This one is addressed to Jen. Somebody is asking, when sharing the financial health measurement back with your front line, is it the financial health score or something else?
Great question. So as I mentioned, we're still pretty early on in this process. So when we did the financial health surveys, we gathered that information and we have that, and it's not being shared with the frontline in the format of a score. I think the way we're approaching it right now is that as we begin to build those target audiences for different topics based on the member score, for example, they need to work on their short-term savings, right? Which really ties in tightly with our emergency savings account. We're presenting those specific members to the front line to say, hey, this would be a great candidate for emergency savings. This is what we should be talking to them about. And so that's how we're segmenting it today. We hope that in the future we'll be able to once staff is trained up and understands the different elements of a financial health score, that we'll be able to kind of push that out to them as well so that they can have those conversations. The other thing that we're talking about doing is, having ways to sort of assess the members' current financial health situation before we have a conversation with them. Let's say we're going to sit down and have a financial counseling session, or they want to come talk about a loan. We may have those upfront conversations as well. And that way we understand where the member is in their financial health picture before we start down the path of, what customized products and services make sense for them.
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
We have another one coming in. Somebody is asking, how do we, and it's, honestly, this kind of goes back to what you were just saying a little bit, but how do we, when having these conversations about financial health, how do we approach our members in a way that doesn't necessarily sound patronizing?
Yeah. Yep. And I think for us that compassionate guidance is the key. We want people to come in and feel like we are not judging them. I see one of the questions is about, what do we show the score to the member, and does it show that they're failing? For the financial health network, it's great because the member does the 1 to 2 minute survey, and at the end it tells them areas for them to focus on. So what it does two things. One is it tells them their score and where they sit, and we won't call it failing. They put it into categories of vulnerable, coping, and thriving. So if the member comes out as a vulnerable, they're probably pretty aware that they're in that situation because that's how they answered the questions that were asked of them, right? But what it does for them is it says, hey, 47% of Americans are in the same situation or are in this score band as well. And then it says, here are some things you can focus on. Building your savings, making sure you're paying your bills on time, and it links them out to some tools and resources to help them with the areas that make sense for them to focus on based on their answers to those questions.
Thanks, Jen. All right, I think we have time for one more. I have one here. Somebody's asking, in this economy, how can we help members meet their savings and debt management goals?
That's a loaded question. Do you want to start, Greg, and then I'll jump in?
Yes, talking about macroeconomic contributions, we could spare additional webinar just on that. And that's where part of what we wanted to focus on is meeting people where they are, meeting members in their current financial situation, and then using that as the benchmark for their own personal journey. With the current economic cycle, we know everybody's feeling the effects of that. Interest rates are higher than they've been in recent history. So That is absolutely going to have an impact on auto loans, on mortgage loans, on a lot of lending. And if people have to take out those loans and are having higher payments as a result, then that will also create a burden on savings volume. So yeah, it's a very long conversation to have that again, we're starting from a place that respects and responds to the members' actual starting place and building from there.
Yeah, and I think that going back to what I was saying earlier about, what are the smallest things the member can tackle today and what's reasonable for them. So we talk a lot about, in learning about financial counseling, we talk about, okay, well, is it reasonable for you to save $10 per week? You're not asking for the moon. We're thinking of what are the small habits that we can change? What are the things that we can help the member with, whether that be maybe they need financial counseling for debt consolidation. Maybe they can put a few dollars a month into an emergency savings account. So it's really, again, like Greg said, about meeting the member where they are and starting at the lowest level possible on what makes sense in this environment for people, whether that be with our products and services or not, or just behaviors, or help through an external third party that might be able to help the member get further along in their journey. So
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Jennifer. With that, that was our last question. So if you guys are good, I'll go ahead and do our outro. If there's any last things you guys want to say.
sounds great. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So, all right,
Thank you.
as we conclude, we do want to say a huge thank you to all of you who attended the second webinar in our 2024 Edge Encores webinar series. And of course, another huge thank you to Commonwealth Central Credit Union for being a lovely guest host, along with our team here at Trellance. As I stated at the beginning of the webinar, we will be sending you all a digital recording of the webinar so that you guys will have it available to review. We would also like to see you all at the next two webinars in the series that occur next week. I've just gone ahead and I've put the link in the chat. So to register, please visit trellance.com/edge-encores. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.